Hey everyone, so come to the press conference for the new Philadelphia Flyers head coach Rick Tocchet. This is the first time he will be in front of the Flyers community. So let's see what he has to say, and these are my favorite answers out of his whole press conference.
You asked me what we were looking at for a coach. One thing that I said was we needed a teacher, and I think there's nobody better than Rick to teach our young guys.
I like our PHLY, but this question is actually for Danny. Danny, you mentioned about one of the big reasons why you think Rick is a good fit is his abilities as a teacher. You talked about him mentoring you as a player, but I guess what in Rick's track record as a head coach tells you that he'll do a good job teaching this young group?
It's funny, most people would probably focus on the job that he did when he won the Jack Adams a couple years ago, and that was quite the turnaround in a short amount of time that he did there. It was a really impressive year. For me, when I look at the track record, one of the most impressive part that stood out, and that's from watching at the time, was a stint with the Coyotes. He had, and I'm not trying to take it on the players, but he had a pretty depleted lineup at the time, and a team that probably was, I remember at the time that the experts were saying that the Coyotes would be last in the NHL and get the first overall pick, and he made them competitive. They did make the playoffs the one year, and they were in the running, playing good games. So that body of work for me was probably the most impressive part of his coaching. And you can't forget what he did, part of the 2 Stanley Cup, being part of that staff in Pittsburgh, being part of the 4 Nations staff last year, working with some of the best players in the world. So, his track record is pretty impressive.
Anthony Sanfilippo from Long Patterson. We hear a lot about your ability to communicate with players, and that's one of the things that these guys like the most about you, bringing you in. We've heard former players of yours talk about how much they've loved playing for you. As a guy who's played in a different era, how did you kind of learn to deal with today's athlete, and what's different about it now than maybe it was when you first broke into coaching?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think breaking it as a player, it's a different era, right? Coaches told you, hey, do this, and you just did it, right? You were scared to ask why. Now, this generation, they want to know why. They're smart guys, and they want to know why. We're doing this forecheck because of this. They want to know why we're doing it this way, and it's my job to make them buy into it, obviously, but you have to accept that as a coach, and I enjoy that. I'm a partner with the players. It's not a dictatorship. You're not going to last in this league if you think you're going to tell these guys what to do every day and have all these type of rules. But I think if you partner up with a player, listen to them, and there's got to be accountability. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely that's my job to steer the ship. But I think it's important that you let the players steer the ship too. And they have a lot of good ideas. I've learned a lot from a lot of great hockey players. I'm not going to name a bunch of these guys, but there's some high-level guys that I got a chance to talk to and learn different systems or dealing with players, and then using your staff in different departments. You got science, you got the mental skills coaches, you got your assistant coach, you got management, ownership. You can't be afraid to use those guys. And quite frankly, sometimes some guys might be better than you at something, and you can't be afraid of a head coach not to utilize those tools.
Rick Hall from NBC Sports Philadelphia. Danny, this question is for you. You said you had a lot of conversations with Rick's former players. Did any names or conversations really stand out? Can you maybe shed a little light on what you heard from these players?
Well, I'm not going to name names that I talked to. I'm going to keep that private for them. But it was all positive. The one thing that kept coming up, like I said, was the relationships that he was able to create. A lot of the players would say you feel like you have a voice, you feel like you're listened to, and that you're part of the team. That's kind of the gist of most of the discussions that kept coming back. I was digging, I was trying to find some bad stuff, and unfortunately I haven't gotten there yet. Well, we'll work on that later on.
Hey Rick, it's Billy Schwein from 97.3 ESPN. The Flyers haven't made the playoffs in 5 years, and we've been told obviously it's a rebuild. What are your expectations for this team this year?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you know, getting everybody, get the team to play better. Like like every individual has untapped talent, right? To whatever level it is, it's my job to untap it. I think the direction, you know, I know where this is going, and I like the direction. I actually love the direction that these guys have laid out. I believe in it, and I want to be part of the solution. It's just not me. It's not about Rick Tocchet. It's about everybody. But for me, I know what I got to do to keep this ball going. And there's a lot of tools here to work with. That's what has attracted me, Billy, to this job.